Thank you for tuning in to Functional Spirituality. And welcome to this very first episode. I'm so delighted that you've joined me, and I'm really excited because I get to share with you what I've been up to. Having run silent retreats and teacher training courses abroad, there's a large community of family and friends overseas that I'm excited to get to connect to once again, and having participated in international yoga communities and being on the teaching team for centers overseas away from Australia, I'm looking forward to deepening our conversation together and connecting with you once again, as it's been many years since I've seen you, probably. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Canadian-born Indian, Iranian, Australian yogini. And I got into yoga when I was 19 years old, and I became a total fanatic for it. It was Bikram yoga, a hot posture-based style of practice. And since then, just a few years later, I got into spirituality, and I became a fanatic for that as well. And I've practiced many forms of spirituality since then. I'm 31 now, in 2020, and I've lived in ashrams and helped run these international centers, and I've experimented with a lot of different systems, a lot of different teachers, a lot of different types of practices, but most importantly is the level of intensity with which I've been practicing. So for many years, it was not uncommon for myself and the other practitioners in our communities to be doing yoga and meditation and other techniques for 8 or more hours every single day, along with going on countless silent retreats, dark retreats, experimenting with all the different substances and techniques out there, and with a level of intensity of a very, very desperate and strong seeker. I think one of the most valuable things that I've practiced are the ones that have got me absolutely nowhere. So to see all the types of spiritual techniques and meditation and yoga that people might practice over their entire lifetime and wonder why they haven't gotten results. And a common thing that I get in our retreats or our trainings is to hear some of the older population that have been practicing for years and who come to me with a frustration that they wonder why it hasn't worked. They wonder why they're still angry. They wonder why they still feel lonely or lost or confused. And that is really heartbreaking and devastating for me to hear. So I can see now that one of my privileges and one of my blessings on my spiritual path has been to try so many things to the bottom at such a young age, and to have experienced how fruitless so many of the techniques are in particular contexts. There were things that I tried for years that I could see weren't working, but because of the nature of spirituality being dogmatic and set up around a guru and a system and a dogma, I was led to believe that it would work eventually and that I should just stick with it, and that it was this problem that I had and maybe I should work on that chakra and that would fix it. And what I'm interested in now is critical thinking more than anything. I'm interested in a refinement of practice, and I'm interested in things that are really simple and a type of spirituality that is functional. So functional is a bit of a buzzword in medicine and in movement systems, and I just define it as a functional practice is one that will change the way that you function in your daily life. So it actually integrates off the mat, out of the doctor's room, away from the medicine, out of that movement practice. It integrates into how you show up in your daily life. So functional spirituality is something that actually makes a difference in the way that we show up in our lives. It brings a refinement, it brings a transformation, and ultimately, functional spirituality, or spirituality that is relevant and powerful, is a type of spirituality that gives you the results that you're seeking. So it really should start with an evaluation of your motivations for practice, and to be really grounded and willing to question again and again, almost every time that you come to the practice, what are my motivations for practice? What am I personally trying to get out of this practice? And I hear people all the time. I run a yoga studio in Fremantle, Western Australia. I hear people all the time, new people that come to the center, say things like, oh, well, I shouldn't be really interested in the goals or the outcome in the practice, but, I do really want to get this. And that kind of blows my mind. Why would you be doing anything if you're not interested in the outcome? So that kind of refinement and clarity, and to have something that's really grounded and really functional, is something that is important for us in spirituality and on the planet in general. Spirituality is such a medicine for so many illnesses that we face as human beings, for stress and anxiety, for blame and difficult emotions. Spirituality can help with these things. Maybe that is where your motivations lie, for a transformation or a balance or a sense of freedom and harmony in these areas. I will unpack over these episodes many more things about what spirituality can give us, what I've experienced myself has granted me, what I've been able to experience in group settings for others and see how lives have transformed. There are some things spirituality can grant us. There are some things that it might not. And then once we know what our motivations for practice are, then we can determine what the method and what the practice is that should get us there. And in our day and age, in the information age that we live in, there is no shortage of resources to assist us in getting help to construct a practice or a path that will bring us exactly what we want. Nothing is off the table. So for me, functional spirituality really incorporates a range of practices that are simple and carefully considered towards the aim that we personally deem to be meaningful and valuable for us. So this podcast is going to hopefully elevate the conversations in this area, because according to me, unfortunately, yoga and meditation and spiritual practice suffer from the same dilution of meaningfulness and depth that most industries and most things on our planet do at this time. And it's a bit of an illness to live our lives only on the surface and to lack that depth and that inquiry because of the way our world and our economics and our social structures are set up. We are focused on the surface of our existence, on the surface of our day-to-day lives. And maybe you can sense in your relationships, in yourself, in your own satisfaction, in your purpose, even if you're really purpose-driven, there's a huge pull to remain on the surface in the tactics of the daily life. I hope this podcast serves your process of diving deeper and digging out the gold that lies deep inside yourself, the intelligence, the wisdom that is inside of us, because we are universal, and somehow bringing it to the fore. And I absolutely love this platform of podcasts and audio for these episodes to be listened to either with a cup of tea, a pen and paper, sitting on a couch, just relaxing, with the eyes closed and taking notes in, or even while you're driving somewhere. So just to have these types of conversations going on in the background to change the conversation that is normally being had in our daily lives. So we're going to have a couple of different types of episodes on this show. And the first one is that there will definitely be conversations and interviews had with other people in the community that I believe are aligned with this value of excellence, intelligence, consciousness, and community, as well as sustainability. There will be free guided sessions. So if you already have a meditation practice, these will be amazing for you to just have 5, 10, 15-minute guided practice sessions for yourself to follow along with. Otherwise, you might find value in doing a meditation course with us or listening to episodes that explain how to meditate before you'll really find value in the guided practice sessions. But of course, feel free to listen along and see if you can drop in and connect to this space that we're guiding in the sessions. I definitely want to be sharing information and insights about the yoga industry and the spirituality industry, because there's a lot out there that the practitioners and the general public don't know about what is going on behind the closed doors of a yoga studio and the yoga industry and yoga teacher trainings. For all I know, you believe that yoga teaching is a regulated industry, when it's absolutely not, and this is just one of the small issues that I'll be bringing up, is that there is absolutely no certification or regulatory body for yoga teachers. And the misconception that something like Yoga Alliance, which is a registry and more like a marketing body, is actually a registry body or a certification body. There's no yoga certifications. It's completely unregulated. Anyone can make a yoga teacher training and anyone can call themselves a yoga teacher. So it's a really dangerous area to be playing in if you're not educated and informed about what is going on in this industry. Even as a yoga teacher, you may not be aware of the ins and outs of the industry, and there's a lot being uncovered all the time. There's a lot of really beautiful things. There's a lot of opportunity, and I would like to be sharing and speaking to that with you and with other leaders in the industry, as well as the community. And finally, I'd love to discuss functional spirituality and insights about how to integrate consciousness into embodied living, which has been my focus over the past few years as my spiritual practice has refined, and I'm really interested in very few things now, very few systems, and the ones that are the simplest but the most functional, and the ones that provide the most effective avenues and the strongest results with as little effort as possible. So I'm so looking forward to continuing these conversations, sharing retreat talks, giving you an insight into what we do in our studio and on our retreats and in our trainings. I'm very, very open to discussions, so please get in touch with us through Spanda School or avaarani.org to let us know your thoughts and any questions that you might have about the subject matter. Thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode, and I'm positive if you've enjoyed this little introduction, you're going to get so much out of the show, as will I get so much out of sharing in these discussions with you. So thank you for joining me today. This show is dedicated to creating wholeness and satisfaction through higher education. I recommend you go back into the app and subscribe to the podcast. The very nature of the spiritual path is cultivating an experience that lifts you up, and this small step can do just that. You can also discuss your insights and the subject matter with friends. Thank you for listening,
and for cultivating wisdom.